What's up, guys? John Bush here with a Ask Me Anything about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I've been involved in the crypto space for several years now. Heard about it early on, was really excited about it because I'm a libertarian-leaning anarchist and I don't appreciate government or state authority. And I saw Bitcoin as an awesome way to undermine the power of the central banks because it's decentralized and peer-to-peer, and you can use it outside of government purview. But when I started using it in my entrepreneurial life, it's really when I started seeing the true utility outside of just some idealistic tool to undermine government. It is very simple to transfer money, whether big or small, to other parties, and they get the money instantly. You don't have to wait for 2 to 3 days for a wire transfer or over the weekend if you're receiving credit card deposits. So when I started using it to pay people that I was working with in the news service I ran, the Liberty Beats, really when I started seeing the utility. So I'm going to go through some of these questions that I listed here in the description, and I'm going to invite anyone that's watching to chime in with any questions or comments or concerns. And I also want to let everyone know that in addition to just providing general education, I also provide one-on-one consultations. It's $50 an hour, and in that time, I can step you through and walk you through and help you set up a Bitcoin wallet, help you to acquire Bitcoin, and most importantly, make sure that you can keep the cryptocurrency safe, not only from hackers, but more importantly, and probably a problem that you'll run into more often than getting hacked, is keeping the Bitcoin safe from yourself. There's no corporation or 1-800 number that you can call to get your money back or dispute something, so self-responsibility is really important in the crypto space. So what is Bitcoin? It's a digital currency that was created in 2008 by a man, woman, or group of people that call themselves, him or herself, Satoshi Nakamoto, released a white paper in 2008. And it was in large part in response to the financial crisis and the housing crisis and all the shenanigans going on with the bailouts, which started with Bush and carried on through Obama. Now, the problem of creating a digital currency that was decentralized, that people have been trying to figure out solutions for quite some time in the crypto space and crypto anarchists. There was e-gold and Hashcash and all sorts of stuff, but really Satoshi Nakamoto was the first one to really solve the problem of how to create a true trustless system. So we released this white paper, released the Bitcoin Core code, and early on it was really just crypto geeks and computer geeks that were working with it, trading with it. Didn't really have real value. They were just mining it on their computer. I'll talk about what mining is later. And trading it amongst themselves. I think the first big purchase was a pizza that was purchased with Bitcoin, with like thousands of Bitcoin. And it really started to get some value and get some legs when people started using it on the Silk Road. A lot of people in the crypto space are like, oh no, that's not true. It wasn't used for drugs and stuff. But in large part, it began to develop a price because people were using it to buy drugs and other illicit goods on the dark market. It has since grown and become more and more legitimate and is used for far more things than illicit transactions, but that's where it got an early start. Then we began to see price increases whenever there would be financial catastrophes, like what happened in Cyprus when they did a haircut where they had a financial crash and they took 10% of the savings of everyone that had 100,000 or more in their savings account. They called it a haircut. I call it theft. But when that happened, the price of Bitcoin spiked quite a bit. So Bitcoin's a digital currency, and it's used and transacted on computers, hardware wallets, paper wallets, and most people commonly use it on their smartphones. Let me pull up a wallet here. So I like to use Airbits, which is really popular. I'll talk about the different wallets here shortly. It's a digital currency, and the Bitcoin that you have are kind of stored. It's not a physical asset, but there's an accounting of the Bitcoin that you have in your wallet or your public address on the blockchain. Blockchain is the heart of cryptocurrencies. A blockchain is, here's a Bitcoin wallet. I spent a bunch of my money in it last night. to get in on an ICO. This is Airbits. You can send and receive Bitcoin really easily. They don't have access to your private keys, which is extremely important. Hey, Rita, how are you? Hey, Val. Hey. So the blockchain is a decentralized public ledger. It is an accounting of who has what Bitcoin and where they've sent it, who they've received it from. And this public ledger is distributed through a bunch of computer servers all across the computer servers are called nodes. And this is much the same for cryptocurrencies, much the same for different cryptocurrencies. So you have this blockchain. It shows you who has what Bitcoin associated with what public address, who's sent it to you, who's received it. It's an accounting, and it's stored on these decentralized computers. And each one of these computers has a consensus as far as who legitimately holds what Bitcoin, what cryptocurrency. So whenever you open up a wallet, you can generate public addresses. And the public address is kind of like your account number. It's where you send and receive Bitcoin to. So if you wanted to send me Bitcoin, I could share my public address here in the comment, and you could send Bitcoin to that public address. Every public address has an associated private key. Whoever has access to that private key can access those Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. This is why it's extremely important if you set up a wallet to use a wallet where no one has access to those private keys but you. This can be the Bitcoin Core wallet, Electrum, Airbits, even some online wallets like blockchain.info. They encrypt that information. Now, a wallet and a service like Coinbase, for example, or exchanges like Bittrex or Bitfinex, they have access to your private keys. So while these may be good mediums to trade cryptocurrencies for cryptocurrencies or to buy yourself Bitcoin, they're not good mediums to store a large amount of Bitcoin, because that company could go under, it could get hacked, they could rob your cryptocurrency. So big lesson is, if you're going to have a Bitcoin wallet, it's extremely important to have a wallet where no one has access to the private key but you. So let's talk about the fundamentals of a Bitcoin transaction. So if I wanted to send you Bitcoin, I would pull open my wallet, and a lot of the cool phone wallets, they use QR codes. So let's say you have an Airbits wallet on your phone, you would go to request. Can't really see that, but you click request, and there pulls up a QR code. There it is right there. Let me show you the QR code for my private key. Just kidding. So this is a request right here. So I would take my phone, I would scan this QR code, or you could send me the public address, which is a long string of numbers and letters. I would scan your QR code, pull up the public address on my end where I clicked send, and I would send you, let's say, 1 Bitcoin, which is worth a little less than 4,000. That's part of my motivation for doing this video today, because Bitcoin dropped below 4,000. Some people think it's because Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, big jerk, legacy financial institution, said Bitcoin's a fraud. And the price did drop significantly shortly thereafter. There's also been a lot of stuff going on in China with them potentially banning exchanges and really clamping down on ICOs, banning ICOs. We're not sure how that's all going to play out, but unfortunately government creates uncertainty in the market, and the market reacts. So if government would just butt the hell out, who knows what the price of Bitcoin would be today. But the cool thing is Bitcoin is very resilient. So even though governments try to shut it down, it actually has a detrimental effect to the government's goals, because people flock to Bitcoin precisely because government intervenes in economies and markets. And so even though they're trying to shut it down, in many ways it's going to make Bitcoin grow more. Pretty phenomenal. It's a like built-in check and balance on Bitcoin's success. If that makes sense. So I get your public address. I now have it. So I'm going to send you 1 Bitcoin, which is worth like $3,900 or so. So once I send that Bitcoin, that transaction then hits the blockchain. Well, it doesn't get added to a block. That transaction goes through the Bitcoin network, and what takes place is Bitcoin miners, which are really high-power machines that use ASIC chips, application-specific integrated circuit chips, in order to verify the legitimacy of the transactions that are taking place on the Bitcoin network. Rita says the Chinese ICOs are coming back. They were just clamping down on insane ICOs. That is great news. It's hard to decipher what's coming out of China, and anytime something comes out, whether it's fake news or speculation or just some sort of generalization. The market reacts, so it's good to see that things are pulling back. And you could probably, if this is true and there's more news coverage of this, you'll see Bitcoin rise back up, probably 4,000 plus, 4,200, 4,500. Okay, so I send you that transaction. Now the transaction hits the Bitcoin network, and what's taking place is these Bitcoin mining machines are verifying whether or not I legitimately had access to that Bitcoin in the first place before I sent it to you. And in order to verify that, these Bitcoin miners go through the blockchain to check and see if the output that I sent to you, I legitimately received as an input. And how do they verify that? Well, they check to see if the person that sent it to me legitimately received it as an input from someone else. And how do they verify that? So on down the line. So what these Bitcoin mining computers are doing basically are competing for the right to add the next block to the blockchain. A block is the collection of transactions that take place within a roughly 10-minute period. The Bitcoin program recalculates the difficulty so that a block is added to the blockchain roughly every 10 minutes. And so these computers are mining. They're using their computing power to solve a complex mathematical function. They're trying to find a particular number, which is called a nonce. Whichever computer, through its computing power, solves this puzzle and discovers this correct number, this nonce, they win the right to add the next block to the blockchain, having verified the legitimacy of the transactions by verifying the output I sent, I legitimately received as an input, and so on and so forth down the blockchain. So one set of miners, a mining pool or an individual solo miner, they find out the nonce, they verify the transactions that took place in that last 10 minutes, and then a block gets added to the blockchain. Once a block is added to the blockchain, it's considered truth. Now it's considered even more true once a block gets added on top of that, and once 6 blocks take place, 6 confirmations, it's considered statistically impossible for it to be an illegitimate, invalid transaction. That's kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of things, but that's what happens every time a transaction takes place. Now here's the beauty of it. Because we have this decentralized peer-to-peer system, those transactions can be confirmed within 10 minutes, whereas whenever you're sending a credit card transaction, you may receive payment first, but it doesn't hit your bank until the next day if you have a credit card processor. Whenever you're wiring money through the bank, it takes forever. My son's here. I just heard him in the background. He may come in. He's a Bitcoin baby. But just to let you know, parenting rules. So that's how a Bitcoin transaction takes place, and that's the beauty of the blockchain. All these different computers, these mining computers and these nodes, they have a consensus. This means that we don't have to trust a third party like Wells Fargo or Visa in order to maintain our account balance. They can change it. Cyprus took a haircut on the Cypriots. You can't do that with Bitcoin. It can't be changed. Shannon Mullen of Disk Nation, disknation.com, says, is there a finite amount of Bitcoin, these cryptocurrencies, BTC, Ethereum, Litecoin? I guess there's 2 questions there. There is a finite amount of Bitcoin. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, and right now more than half of those Bitcoin have been mined, and I think the last Bitcoin will be mined in like 100 years or something. It's like 2120, somewhere around there. I should also mention that Bitcoin miners are rewarded with Bitcoin whenever they solve a block and add a block to the blockchain. That is how new Bitcoin are generated. It's not generated willy-nilly by the Federal Reserve opening the discount window and bailing out banks, or by, Janet Yellen deciding that we need to increase the money supply and just pumping out a bunch of money. It's highly inflationary. Bitcoin is actually deflationary, which is why many people think it's a good investment, because there's a finite amount. It has a lot of value. There's a demand for it. The supply will be capped. So finite supply with unlimited potentially demand increases prices. Unlike inflation, where you add more supply, decreasing the value of everyone's money. And if you haven't heard of the inflation tax, the Federal Reserve Bank, they create money out of thin air to bail out their buddies, to finance foreign wars of aggression. Every time they create new money, your money is worth less. There's many factors that go into inflation, but that's the biggest one. And the good Dr. Ron Paul of the Austrian School of Economics, if you want to learn more about that, you can go to Mises.org, all sorts of good information about the money supply and how inflation truly works. Bitcoin avoids that. Now, as far as the question of other cryptocurrencies, there's thousands of alternative cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, it was the first to market, and they have the biggest market cap. But I don't know what the market cap is now that Bitcoin's less than 4,000. It's probably around 130 to 140 billion dollars. 140 billion dollars. That's right. So that's a lot of freaking money. And that shows that Bitcoin isn't just some fad or BS or a fraud like Jamie Dimon believes, punk ass bitch. Bitcoin is legitimate. Cryptocurrencies are indeed legitimate, and the market is speaking by adding a lot of value. Now, it was 177 billion recently, which may have been the high for the market cap. Market cap is the number of coins times the price of coin for an individual coin, and you just collect all that together to get the overall market cap of all the cryptocurrencies. To put that in perspective, the market cap for Apple, last time I checked, was like 800 billion or 850 billion. So cryptocurrency is a very new phenomenon since 2008, 2009. And they were really largely unknown. They're only beginning to come into predominance in the past couple of years. That's huge. Put that in perspective. That's amazing. Now, there are a bunch of other altcoins, and a bunch of them are junk and don't really have any utility. They're not very different from the other ones, but there's some really good ones that hold a lot of value. And I'll get into those here in one moment. So how to collect and store your Bitcoin. So get a Bitcoin wallet. You can put one on your phone. Airbits is a great one. Another sure bet is Electrum on your hard drive. You can get the Bitcoin Core client, but you have to download the blockchain. I don't know how big it is these days, but it's like 30 or 40 gigabytes or more. So you can get Electrum, and that doesn't download the whole blockchain, just downloads a portion of it, which is what I would recommend. Now, it's extremely important, especially if you're new to cryptocurrency, that whenever you get a wallet, whether it's an Airbits wallet or an Electrum wallet, it is extremely important that you back up that wallet in every single way possible. So many wallets, like Jaxx, which is another good wallet on your phone that allows you to have multiple cryptocurrencies, they have what's called a seed. The seed is usually a 12-word mnemonic phrase. It's 12 random words, and you write this down. And when you do that, even if you lose your phone or your computer gets stolen, you can download Electrum or Jaxx again, put in that seed, and you'll get access to all the cryptocurrency, all the Bitcoin that you had on the addresses associated with that wallet. It's extremely important that you, yes, back it up and encrypt it, because then if someone steals your computer and you have an unencrypted wallet, they can send Bitcoin to themselves or their friends. But if it's encrypted, even if they steal your computer, they can't get that crypto out because your private key is encrypted. Shannon says 1 BTC seems so expensive. It is. You can buy fractions of Bitcoin. You can buy $20 worth of Bitcoin, $100 worth of Bitcoin. You can buy 0.01 Bitcoin, which would be like $39. You can buy a tenth of a Bitcoin, which would be like $390. One good thing that people do, and this has proven to be successful in the past when you check out the numbers, is determine how much money you have to expend. Let's say I can afford to buy $100 worth of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency a week, and then just buy $100 of crypto no matter what the price is. Another thing you can do is say, I can afford to buy $200 worth of cryptocurrency every month. I'm going to get that $200. I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to watch the market, which is good if you're investing in something. If you start buying in, keep an eye on the market, see how it goes, learn it, live it, love it, make money from it. And whenever you see a dip, you can tell Bitcoin's going like this, and there's a market correction or BS China news or whatever. It's banned in Taiwan or some shit. It dips, boom, that's when you spend your $200. It goes back up, you see a dip, boom. And there's all sorts of technical analysis that you can learn. I've been doing some trading on Bittrex and learning about Fibonacci retracements and stochastics and all that good stuff, stochastics or however you say it. But at the end of the day, if you just buy $100 a week, $20 a week, it's my belief, and this is free speech, this isn't financial advice, but it's my opinion that cryptocurrencies are going to continue to rise. So even if you bought $20, $100, $1,000 a week, regardless of the price, I suspect that in a year or two, it's going to be more. That may not be true. There were a couple years in Bitcoin's life when the price went down, like after 2013 when the market corrected. Just be prepared for that. Another bit of advice, not financial advice though, is so fucking stupid that there's like all these licenses and you have to ask permission to just speak your mind. So I think that's bullshit. Sharing my opinion here is don't put more money in than you are willing to lose, because it is entirely possible that this whole experiment completely fails. I do, however, think that it's much less likely, it's much more likely that Bitcoin will go to 10,000 than Bitcoin going to $100, in my honest opinion. Let's get back with some of these questions. So that's, if you get a wallet, make sure you back it up. A great way to back it up too is to export that private key or export your wallet. Back up the wallet, put it on a flash drive, to put it in your safe, not the safety deposit box, your credit union or your bank. Do people still use banks? No. back up that private key. Not all wallets let you pull it out. It's really difficult to do that with Airbits. It's easier to do it with Jax. Really easy to do it with Electrum. Actually, Electrum, you back up the wallet. You can extract the private key through your console, actually. This is stuff that I can help you with if you sign up for one of the crypto consultations as well. I can literally step you through it with you on the phone or in person if you're here in Austin, or on Skype, and make sure you're doing all this really perfectly. So get that private key. If you got that private key, that's a really safe bet, especially if it's encrypted. When you have that private key, you can import it in all sorts of different wallets. So someone is saying here there's going to be another fork in November. BTC Cash is awesome. So yeah, Bitcoin forks. And a fork is basically you have one blockchain, one Bitcoin protocol. There's some discrepancies. People are like, hey, I think we can do it better. They're not able to reach a consensus. So whoosh, the blockchains fork. And different miners and people run different nodes with different software, basically. So this happened a few months ago with Bitcoin Cash. There's all this drama. Bitcoin Core, this company Blockstream, has immense control over Bitcoin, the original, even though some people say Bitcoin Cash is the true Bitcoin. And they wanted to increase the block size because, unfortunately, I don't know what the fee is lately. Maybe someone can post it there, but the fee to send a transaction was like $3 or $4, $5 for sometimes. And if you didn't pop in a high fee, a mining fee, your transaction wouldn't be guaranteed or wouldn't be likely to be included in the next block. And sometimes it was taking hours, even days, to get your transaction included, which is a bummer as a Bitcoin evangelist, because I used to have some Bitcoin on me all the time, and I'd talk to someone about Bitcoin. I'd say, hey, set up a wallet right now. I'll give you $1 worth of Bitcoin. It would cost like 10 cents, 20 cents to send, 7 cents early on. Now it costs like $2 or $3, so that makes it unviable for me to give people dollars. It also makes it unviable for someone that runs a coffee shop to accept Bitcoin. That's unfortunate, but the market will work it out, and if Bitcoin doesn't get its act together, which it sounds like it's going to with this Lightning Network stuff and segregated witness, who knows, then another market player like Bitcoin Cash, Dash is a big favorite of mine, they will come in and act as that small transaction. Bitcoin can be the gold standard or the store of value. It'll all work out in the end. I'm not sweating it. So yeah, there can be forks, and when that happened, everyone that had Bitcoin, so say you had one Bitcoin in your wallet, you automatically had one Bitcoin Cash, the fork. Bitcoin Cash like doubled or quadrupled the size of the block. So remember, those blocks are the collection of transactions that take place within a roughly 10-minute period. There was so much volume on the network that all that would get filled up, and then there was all these transactions waiting to get added to the blockchain, and unless they had a high fee, they wouldn't get added. Bitcoin Cash immediately rose the size of that blockchain to 2 or 4, 6, I don't even know what it is, 16 megabytes, something huge. So now all these transactions can be included in every single block. Bitcoin is trying to work that out with segregated witness and this Lightning Network stuff. I'm not going to get into that, but we'll see what happens. But apparently there's going to be another fork in November. And everyone thought it was going to be a crisis and a catastrophe, but really what happened was, same thing happened with Ethereum Classic. They had some issues, and they had a fork. Is the overall market cap of Bitcoin plus Bitcoin Cash was greater than what it was with Bitcoin alone. So people were like, oh my God, it's going to crash Bitcoin's price. There's going to be so much uncertainty. What's going to happen? In reality, it just created more value, and people had more money. So if you had a $4,000 Bitcoin when that happened, now all of a sudden you had a $500 Bitcoin Cash. Your overall crypto holdings were $4,500 instead of just $4,000. That's amazing. Yeah, so that's Bitcoin Cash. There's going to be another fork probably in November. Right now is a good time to buy. Bitcoin's down 10% over the last 12 hours from 4,200 to 3,800. That's right, Michael Walters, and that was one of my inspirations for doing this video. It is a great time to buy cryptocurrency, and if you can save US dollars throughout the month, throughout the couple month period, Bitcoin's going up, and then boom, you see it crash down 5, 10, 15, 20%. Buy, 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 buy. May keep crashing down. There's technical analysis you can look at. You can learn yourself, or you can check out websites like CoinDesk and all sorts of other services, and they'll give you some good advice. And then boom, you buy when it's low, it keeps going up. Buy low, sell high. Even though the first Bitcoin we ever got was when it was like $1,100 in 2013, and we used some wedding money that Catherine and I got, and we bought high and then sold low. That was the first full Bitcoin that we bought. We've received a bunch of Bitcoin before. It was like $20 and $30. We received several of them, and it went up to like $200 and $300. We used some of that money to pay for our wedding, which was really cool. But yeah, Bitcoin is great. There's some alternative cryptocurrencies, chief among them Ethereum, which is the second highest market cap. This is more than a currency. It's a code writing software, basically. They're trying to create a world supercomputer, and Ethereum makes it really easy to write software and code and smart contracts that ride on top of the Ethereum blockchain. It's got a young genius named Vitalik Buterin that is the lead developer, and it has a lot of promise. And a lot of these ICO, like an IPO in the stock market, and ICO's initial coin offering, are being done with smart contracts on top of the Ethereum network. These are very easy to do. Kin is a great one. You have to pre-register. There's another one coming up called Token Lab. It runs on Expanse, which is a fork of Ethereum. So Ethereum's great. Dash is one of my favorites. We were involved with Dash for a while, supporting them, promoting them. We promoted them on one of our cryptocurrency Dash Across America road trips. This is a great currency because it has a lot of privacy. It has coin mixing, which is whenever you obscure the transaction so you can't tell where you received it from or where you sent it to. It has that built into the wallet. You don't have to use the third party. You don't have to trust the third party in order to obscure those transactions, which is great if you're doing illicit activities and trying to undermine the government and maintain your privacy and sovereignty, financial sovereignty. We totally support that and are proud that people buy drugs with Bitcoin. More power to you, my friends. I won't cower away from that like a venture capitalist or CEO of some big company that doesn't want to tarnish the reputation of Bitcoin. As an anarchist, I am super excited that people use Bitcoin to circumvent and undermine the government, especially the federal government. Yeah. So that's a good one, Dash. Ripple's a good one. Now, Ripple is a centralized blockchain. It's not decentralized like the other ones, which isn't good philosophically, but as an investment, again, this is just my opinion, as an investment, Ripple holds a lot of promise. They are hoping to work with legacy financial institutions in order to offer a money sending, money transmitting clearinghouse. So, you have like Star and Pulse. You see those on the back of your debit card, so you can use them at the ATM. Ripple wants to replace a lot of those technologies and do it a lot more for a lot less money and a lot more efficiently, which is great for these banks. Okay, so I've answered all the questions. Yes, cryptocurrency could crash and be worth nothing, but as I said before, I think that is highly unlikely. I think it's far more likely that cryptocurrency will rise. Again, I want to remind everyone that I offer one-on-one crypto consultations. Now is a good time to get into cryptocurrency. I can walk you through the best ways to buy it and how to safely and store that crypto. And as I said before, it's possible that you can get hacked, but more importantly, I want to offer advice so you can foolproof it. You can protect the cryptocurrency from yourself. I had a friend that bought cryptocurrency at Brave New Books a while ago before Kat and I took it over, and he didn't write his password down and forgot his password and blamed it on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a fraud. Bitcoin's a farce. Okay, and we're back. So yes, Rita, the dollar is digital, and everyone's like, well, what happens if the internet goes down, and what happens if there's an electromagnetic pulse? And it's like, man, cryptocurrency is going to be the least of your worries if that shit happens. And if the internet goes down, so do all the credit card transactions, and so does your bank account, and so does all that shit. And basically, we'll have some Mad Max style shit. So you better squad the fuck up, get yourself some Bitcoin, get yourself some gold and silver as well, get yourself some guns and ammunition. Learn how to grow food, because if the internet goes down and if there's an electromagnetic pulse, I don't give a shit about Bitcoin. I want to protect my family. But at the end of the day, the internet will return, and all these conspiracy theorists that say the government's going to shut the internet down, and there's a lot of players that don't want that to happen. People that are extremely powerful in the global elite, they don't want to shut the internet down. They make tons of money and have so much power because of the internet and because of the global telecommunication system. So that's that. All right, thank you everyone for watching. If anyone wants to throw out any last minute questions, I will answer them. And again, I want to remind you that I do consultations. There's a link there. If you sign up, it's $50 an hour, which is a great value because I can help you to get into cryptocurrency. And it's highly likely, especially if you buy Bitcoin today, that that $50 will be made back really quick. And the last thing you want to do is buy $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 worth of Bitcoin, which I can help you to acquire, and then have it be lost, or have your hard drive get corrupted, or your kid pours tangy tangerine on your computer, as happened with my last MacBook Pro. and you lose all of that money. I can tell you how to back it up, keep it hacker-proof, and more importantly, protect it from yourself and mistakes that you may make. All right, so cryptocurrency is not just a passing fad. It's not tulip mania. It's not some weird thing for techno geeks. It's not used exclusively to buy drugs, although that's a great use for it. Not that I've ever bought drugs with Bitcoin, or that I would ever want to buy drugs in the first place. But crypto is here to stay, and it's my opinion, if you can't beat them, join them. The legacy financial institutions, this is what I've been saying for years now, and this is what's happening. The legacy financial institutions are going to start adopting blockchain technology because it just works so much better. They may not necessarily use the Bitcoin blockchain. Many are developing their own blockchains, but as that rises in predominance, it's going to add legitimacy to Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space in general. John Van Dusen Edwards, love that guy. I think BitShares is also very undervalued. They have a decentralized exchange, and I see a ton of potential for growth. Have you checked it out? I haven't looked into BitShares in depth, but I have a lot of friends, like my buddy Matt Buckley, that are really bought into it. A decentralized exchange, so there's different exchanges where you can buy and sell things, and they are centralized, which means they have access to your private keys. Many of them, like BTCE recently, and of course everyone knows Mt. Gox, one of the first early Bitcoin exchanges. Which played a major role in growing the cryptocurrency space, but ended up being a Ponzi scheme, fraud kind of deal. They have access to your private keys, and you can have $1,000 that you're trading with, messing around with. It could all be taken away, but a decentralized exchange is trustless, and that can't happen. So any company or any cryptocurrency that's working on that type of technology, there's a lot of promise there. And maybe the stocks will be traded that way someday. The Wall Street and the New York Stock Exchange, and they probably won't appreciate that, but man, innovation happens, and the market, she's a mighty beast. Just like the ocean, you can't control the ocean no matter how hard you try. The best thing is to strap in and go along for the ride. So thank you for joining me in this Ask Me Anything overview of cryptocurrencies. It's never too late to get involved. I'm gonna close with this. For all the people that are like, oh, here's the first time I was gonna buy Bitcoin and like buy it to invest in it. It was like $40, up from $20. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, I'm going to wait for it to go back down to 20 before I buy in. Then it shot up to like 120, 130, and I didn't have any money to buy any. So it's never too late to get into the cryptocurrency space. For those of you who think the ship has sailed, I'm here to tell you that the sails are yet to be set. It is never too late to get in. $100 worth, $500 worth, $1,000 worth. Divest your portfolio. Put 2.5%, 5% of your wealth into it, and in my opinion, you will prosper. It's extremely high right now, $4,000. That's incredible, and it went up to $4,500, $5,000. Then it crashes back down to $4,000, and all the pundits are like, "Oh, Bitcoin's dead." But it's like, man, it was like $3,500, $2,000 a few months ago. Give me a break. I think that it's going to go to the moon. I think other cryptocurrencies are going to go to the moon. Dash, Ethereum, Ripple, OMG is really big right now. So if you would like more information, if you would like a one-on-one session where I could really tailor things to your specific needs and make sure we take the time to get you set up right, set up safely and securely, I offer one-on-one cryptocurrency consultations for $50 an hour. There's a link there to pay and sign up and reserve a session in the post. Peace, freedom, cryptocurrency. I love you. Thanks for joining in. I'm out.